Talk to me.
Like trash talk.
Oh yeah, go for it. Give me your best.
No, that's a joke. It's about bins.
I should not have asked. And stop, Kiara.
Just creating a really interesting bin, something that people really notice when they walk down the street.
So he wanted to do something that we hadn't done before and that was different to what we currently have on range, which is why he's sort of gravitated towards the really interesting geometric kind of angled form.
If they're going to be situated in our public spaces, in parks and on streets, I think it's really on us to make sure that they're nice things to be there. Really wanted this bin to be something where people are like, whoa, nice bin. So lots of just scribbling with pencils, and we do things like we start with elevations to try and get the form, and then we might work on perspectives to look at little details and areas like that. So a lot of concept sketching was how this one came to life.
I took Tom's sketch and I created a 3-dimensional block model, which was proportioned to suit a 120 litre, and effectively started to play with the proportions to get something that looked similar to his sketches, but that would obviously fit the bin inside. We then sat down together and I basically said, is this the look you're after? And Tom's like, yep, but let's make a few tweaks here and there. And so we finessed the block model to get the proportions to something that we both really liked. And then I set about basically figuring out how the internal panels were going to come together and what that structure was going to be.
What's innovative about it is the removal of an internal subframe. And what that meant is that effectively all the exo frames needed to share their strength. And so when we brought them together, they would assist each other in making a very durable structure that was going to perform well. So that was important. So making sure that there wasn't wasted material, how we connected to the lid of the bin was integral in not just assembly, but also adding strength to the finished unit.
So I think it was just kind of recognising how strong a bin could be that was purely folded sheet metal inside. The challenge for me was to take his sketches and figure out how to make the frame come together, and not just how to make the frame come together, but how to achieve a really clean, seamless look on the outside.
So trying to achieve all of the functions of a cast aluminium lid without actually making it a cast aluminium lid was a fun part of the exercise. And I think we've done it quite well, but that was certainly one of the challenges.
You can do a lot of cool things with folded sheet metal, but there's also limitations. Sort of keeping that in the back of your mind and kind of going, well, can this actually be folded? Like, this would be cool, but can it actually be folded?
We needed to create something that's had this kind of 3D volume, but doing it from effectively a flat sheet. So there's a little bit of an origami kind of process going on. So that was, it wasn't a massive challenge, but it was something we worked hard on to kind of, was really important. It's sitting at the top of the bin, it's the crown, it's the bit that you see first. So it needed to really sing.
The only limitation was that we were advised that we couldn't go as thick as we wanted to, because the material, the thicker aluminium, can crack or doesn't perform as consistently as a 6mm.
We're always learning stuff. But a couple of things is some of the limitations of various gauges of aluminium. We know how aluminium performs, and when you try to bend it too far, you get tearing. and things like that. So certain thicknesses of the aluminium being bent around the form that we wanted weren't going to work. So we had to find some workarounds with that didn't impact the end goal that we were looking to achieve. So yeah, learn a little around the folding of the thicker gauge aluminiums.
I'm really proud of how cleanly it presents on the outside. I'm really proud of how efficiently we've used the materials, and I'm really proud of the junctions between the timber and the metal, and the polished lid and the sides. So I just think it's like a really beautiful bin.
My favourite thing about the bin is the top corners of it. It's where we've got an interesting detail happening with the lid, the angles that it folds and which it's cut, as well as a junction between the three main materials. You've got your cladding, you've got a polished aluminium, and then you've got a powder coated galvanized steel, and collectively they work really well together. And it was important for that junction to be interesting because as a user, that's the bit that you're most commonly seeing. And so for it to be a really interesting detail was important. That it was the bit that kind of stopped people and go, wow, that's considered. It's a nice little detail. They might not know what it is about it, but hopefully it just makes people stop a little longer when they're getting rid of their rubbish. So.
For me, having those tapers in the front and in the back, I think that's bad. It's a shape. It's the shape for me. I really like the shape, and I don't think that I've seen similar elsewhere. So I think it's really interesting.